Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the January 23 meeting of the Chatham Finance Committee. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 signing of the Acts of 23, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until March 31, 2025, this joint meeting of the no, that's not correct. This is not a joint meeting of the Chatham Select Board and the Chatham Council on Aging Directors. This is a meeting of the Chatham Finance Committee. Every effort will be made to ensure that we'll get that corrected and that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling 508-945-4410, again 945-4410, and hopefully enter conference ID 849-074-465 pound sign. Again, 849-074-465 pound sign. Or one may join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. Well, this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will, however, post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. So, welcome everybody. Nice to see y'all again. You're looking very sharp. Roll call. John Papalardo. Here. Tracy Shields.
Here.
Kristen Andres.
Here.
Andy Young. Here. Tommy Doan.
Here.
Barb Madison.
Here.
Joanne Sprague.
Here.
Eric Whiteley may be joining us electronically, and the chair is present. So, the game's afoot. Here we go again. FY26 budget presentation, led by our Finance Director, Carrie Mazeral, who is going to walk us through the proposed FY26 budget. So, Carrie, over to you. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hi, everyone. How are you? So we'll go over the FY 2026 budget. So the fiscal state of the town, the FY 2026 staying the course. We are proud to present a staying the course budget designed to continue efforts to address current challenges, enhance service delivery, and pave the way for lasting community investment. The budget also strengthens staffing resources to achieve the goal of resilient and sustainable community for the future. This year's budget transmittal marks a shift in approach rather than including the status of town initiatives, which will now be detailed in the town manager's annual report. The focus is solely on financial resources required for the upcoming fiscal year. As we continue to refine the digital budget book, updates on community initiatives and other content will be integrated to enhance transparency. Additionally, we are trying to set our sights on achieving the Government Finance Officers Association Budget Excellence Award as part of our ongoing commitment to improving accessibility and accountability. This goes over the FY 2026 Select Board goals. They were reaffirmed on October 29th, 2024. So for the fiscal year 2026, it's continued to focus on envisioning Chatham in 2030. A successful budget aligns with community initiatives, Select Board directives, and with fiscal prudence to ensure adequate resources are strategically allocated to meet our shared goals to serve all members of the community. This slide goes over the FY 2026 Select Board goals and objectives, which align with our budget.
Can you pop back to that for a quick second?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So there's year-round housing, diverse livable Chatham, sustainable local economy, coastal resiliency, environmental preservation and natural resources, drinking water and wastewater, and educational excellence.
Terrific, thank you.
Mm-hmm. State of the town. So the town valuation is the highest it's been, 12 billion. I'm not going to read out the whole number. 6.29% increase to FY 2024. For FY 2025, calendar year 2024, the average residential value was 1.5 million, and the average single-family value was 1.6. Our tax rate decreased 10 cents from FY 24 to 2025. Our AAA rating was reaffirmed on June 11th, 2024, and our reserves are stable in compliance with fiscal policies. No use of reserves. We contributed to the stabilization fund for FY 2025 in the amount of $150,000 to comply with financial policies. Our financial policy states we will maintain a balance of 3 to 5% of operating budget net of debt. With this current proposed budget for FY 2026, we are at 5%. The town's net OPEB liability as of June 2024 is $16.2 million, an increase of $1.5 million from 2023. As the plan's fiduciary position increased by 1.3, and our total OPEB liability increased by 2.9. The revenues received in FY '24 amount to just over $1 million. There was $612 in tax revenue, $311 in interest, and $150,000 transferred from the overlay surplus. We are on pace to raise approximately $1 million in FY 2025. We've already collected $563,000. For FY 2026, as done in the past, we are recommending that $150,000 be funded from the overlay surplus as a separate warrant article. Town budgetary components. As mentioned at the Budget Summit in October every year, we begin the available sources of funds, revenue, which includes the tax levy, local receipts, and other available funds. Expenses begin with the department heads requesting funds to support a level service budget. We will work through the budget process with expenses and revenues balancing. As you all know, we use ClearGov for our budget module. The digital budget book includes budget narratives, budget statements, prior year accomplishments, organizational charts, staffing history, and the 2026 capital improvement plan requests. You can locate this budget book on our website. You also have a book in front of you as well. You can locate it on the Budget Center, which is located on the front page of the Town of Chatham website. I'll bring you to the website right now just to show you what it looks like. So when you click on the website for the budget book, it will bring you right to the digital budget book. So we have the introduction page. If you just scroll over each section, there's different sections that you can click on. So you can click on like the general fund, water fund. These are all the departments. And there's a little arrow here that you can click down on for everything that's under the general government. So whatever department you're looking at. And we'll be updating this as we go through the budget, just like last year. So this is like the select boards, prior year accomplishments, expenditures. So all of this will be showing on everybody's page.
Joanne, please.
Just for a second.
Microphone.
Sure.
Just for a second, Carrie.
Yeah.
Go back, what is the trust fund balance? And what, are we talking about the stabilization fund, or what is the trust fund?
The OPEB trust fund?
Oh, okay.
OPEB.
Yeah, yes, thank you. I get it.
Oh, do you want me to tell you the balance of that?
Again,
okay,
just
yep.
quickly, please.
Sure, hold on one sec.
I saw trust fund, I didn't think OPEB trust fund.
So the OPEB trust fund right now, sorry, just clicking back quickly, has a balance of $5,369,054.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Do you guys need me to go back to the book?
Let's go back to
Okay.
Let's go back to the book.
Barbara has a question.
Barbara.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Carrie, did you say that the OPEB liability has increased by, how does that happen? I thought we were matching what we needed every year and then adding an additional 150, and we've got 1.5% of the tax rate going into it. How did that get bigger?
Well, it's for post, go, you have the answer?
Yeah, there's a discount rate that's calculated periodically by the town's financial advisors, Bartholomew. and it's discounting the present value of anticipated payments, and the amount of payments go up, of course, every year. We've got retirees and incremental obligations, but it's, I think, predominantly probably due to the change in interest rates.
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to let you know that Eric Whiteley has joined us online.
Oh, terrific. Oh, thank
Okay,
you.
great.
Hello, Eric. Carrie, does that work?
Huh? Yeah.
Okay.
I was trying to get back to the website, but let's go back to the,
Hi, Mr. Chair.
hello. You want me to go back to the book?
Yes, please.
Okay. It doesn't show up on my screen for some reason. It's really weird. Okay, so, oh, and also over on the end are the capital improvements. So you'll have every single department in here that you can locate. You have the funds, you have your budget overview, the transmittal letter. We have our award in there that we've received. Capital improvements, our one-year plan is in here. So you can click on this and then you can scroll down and you can see all of the requests that were submitted for 2026 by each department as well.
And Carrie, can you just take a moment and speak to, for the benefit of people who may be watching this and wanting to understand this all a little better, how dynamic this website is? Is this thing changing every week, every month, not at all?
No, as it shouldn't change that much. The only things that will change, like if something's obviously not voted for, so that will change. When we finally get the final numbers of the school assessments, those will change. We haven't got the final figure for health insurance, so that's another figure. Barnstable County retirement, we don't usually get the pension until February as well. State assessments, those we have not received yet. So that's kind of all I can think of, but
Okay.
you
So,
know, I'll try to update
moderately
it
dynamic.
as soon as I can, like when I get the information. So, you know, once a week or something, or every other week, depending.
Okay, I think that'd be helpful for people.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Papalardo.
I've had an opportunity to look at the site. I think it's excellent. Questions come up, and you can find the answers there. The more familiar you get with the page, the more obvious it is that everything's there.
Yeah.
Just curious if there's a opportunity or place for letters, official letters transmitted from the Finance Committee on particular topics or issues to be part of the historical record that's on here for 2024. Unless I missed it.
I don't know. I don't think they're on this right here, but we
Yeah,
can
so
certainly
typically-
add something to it. if you
Typically,
need.
those are lodged on the cover page of our website. On
Yeah,
the
there is a
town's,
website that we do
but
put.
to the extent that we can try to link them into
That's what I was thinking.
this, it's
Yeah,
a
I
different.
know our letters are on the Finance Committee website page,
That's a-
the town of
it's an-
Chatham.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Is that something we could look into possibly?
I can ask.
Cool. Great.
Yep,
Thanks, John. Thanks, Gary.
you're welcome. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So we went over OPEB already. We went over the budgetary, then we went to that, navigating the digital budget book, FY 2026 balanced budget, staying the course. So I'll go over the highlights for FY 2026 budget. The operating budget without educational assessments is at $43,921,522 for an increase of $3.1 million or 7.62% over FY 2025. This includes funding for 5 new positions to strengthen critical operations. The funding recommendations include funding for community development, local inspector, a DPW Parks and Grounds cemetery. Actually, there's supposed to be 2 of those, 1 police officer and 1 natural resources boat operator marine mechanic. And the capital plan is at $2.9 million or 6.7%, which is within the range of our 9% per Chatham's budget and financial policy. which will be using no use of the tax levy for this. As we work through the budget, it is important to make sure we have a balanced budget, as the slide provides a summary. We are increasing our local estimated receipts at 88% of actuals received in FY 2024. The overall budget without education has increased 7.62%. There's a proposed increase of 7.82% in education, and the water department has increased 15.42%. I'll go over those in another slide.
Carrie, I'm sorry, what was the assessments figure on that chart? On the bottom?
1.3.
And what assessments being what?
Those are the state assessments that we receive. I'd have to go back and look exactly and see exactly what the assessments are
Okay.
included in that figure, but I can get that for you.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I'll put it on my list. Thank you.
Yep, and the other placeholder articles are all the other articles with like the transfer station, the Center for Active Living. I'll go over all of those
Great,
as well.
thanks. Joanne, please.
I'm lost. Where, are we in the budget book? Are we in the handout? It's hard for me to find out where we are.
This slide is actually, I don't think, in the handout. It's just something additional I wanted to provide
Okay.
to everybody, so it shows that we have a balanced budget.
We'll get these slides and I'll distribute them to everybody.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, thank you.
I think I did post them as well,
Okay,
so they should be posted, but.
cool. Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
You're welcome. FY 2026 revenue outlook. The tax levy includes the prior year base of 38.1 plus Prop 2.5 at 953,000, plus the estimated new growth of 350,000, plus the prior approved debt exclusions, which is at 8.2, plus estimated amount for Barnstable County tax, which is 339,000, minus our short-term exempt debt, which is just 22,000. It's like an interest that we get, that we can subtract off our tax levy every year. Then we get to our estimated levy ceiling at 47.9 million. The excess levy capacity not used for this budget is going to be 2.1. That's an estimation. So our total estimated tax levy for the budget is 45.8 million. Our local receipts are estimated at 88% of the prior year actuals from FY '24. As you can see in this graph, our actual local receipts in '23 and '24 are exceeding the estimated receipts for '25 and '26. Our estimates are conservative, as the Department of Revenue recommends conservative budgeting practices are essential to avoid deficits. A widely adopted strategy is to project no more than 90% of the prior year actual receipts. So this is just something that we follow, it's a guideline. So I can get more into it, but I'm not going to.
I think historically, Carrie, didn't we land at 85%?
So last year, we did 85%,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what I
And
had
I
a
think
question.
prior to that, maybe that was like at 80%.
Yeah,
So
and
we
then
started-
COVID, obviously, we took a haircut, but prior to COVID, I think it was typically 80%. So it's good to see
Yeah.
you ramping that up.
Yeah, yep. These are other funding sources that help support the operating and capital budgets, which includes Waterways Improvement Fund, the Railroad Museum Fund, PEG Access Funds, Sale Lots of Graves, Wetlands Protection Fund, and the Transportation Network Funds. We utilize revolving funds to help support other programs and projects such as recreation and shellfish revolving. We receive Chapter 90 funds to help support paving of roads and new sidewalks. We receive money from Cape Cod and Islands Water Protection Fund to help support our debt service and waterways user fees.
Okay, do we have a sense of the annual contribution to the WOOF, to the Waterway User Fee Fund?
I don't know what the annual is. I know we have a balance right now of 1.5.
Right.
Greg has been using the WOOF to support a lot of his projects that are going down over there, so,
Yep. Okay.
yep. This graph is showing the growth over the past 5 years of the town of Chatham's hotel motel revenue and meals tax revenue. At the end of '24, the hotel motel revenue collected was roughly $4 million, and the meals tax was collected was $677,000. As you can see on the chart, the revenue has been consistent over the past few years. Our revenues for 2026 budget includes 66% for property taxes, known as the tax levy, 16% of local receipts, which includes motor vehicle, excise tax, hotel motel revenues, meals tax, and departmental fees. 11% are other available funds that are not included in the local receipts, such as the sale of lots, perpetual care, public access funds, free cash. 7% is the water budget, and we also have state revenue, and as you can see, we don't receive a lot of that. It mostly goes to the school.
Carrie, can we just, for the benefit of the taxpayer, tuck into the free cash number?
Yep.
Where did we land again this year? What was certified?
We were certified $11.1 million.
Which is a significant excess of our targeted policy rate.
That is correct.
Okay. Does anybody care about that at 549? Not to be flip, but there's a significant history of overfunding free cash. And we bring it up every year, and it's like their lips are moving, but nothing's coming out.
Right. So I think that's one of the reasons why we increased our local receipts a little bit higher this year, is trying to keep the free cash down a little bit, and also help support the budget as well.
Okay.
So it kind of offsets a little bit better. So
Okay.
we'll see.
All right.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, you do? Jason is
Jason?
here. He has an answer to the WOOF.
Oh, great.
So, Jason Holm, your harbor master. Annually, we
Welcome.
bring in about $250,000 in revenue towards the WOOF. So that's through waterways user fees, the leases at the fish pier, and so forth.
Terrific. Very helpful. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
Joanne, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the viewing public, can you tell us again where free cash comes from? It comes from the meals tax, I'm presuming, and the food.
So the free cash is from revenues that were not estimated. So above the amount that we've estimated, anything above that we receive would become free cash, basically. And then any expenses that we budget for that have not been spent, those two combined become free cash. Then what happens is that the Department of Revenue looks at our budget as a whole budget. So they look at every single fund that we have. So if we have funds such as grants that are in the deficit or any borrowings that are in the deficit, they hold that against us, thinking that we're not going to receive that money. And then we receive the funds that from reimbursements or borrowings, and then that money becomes available to us, and that's what happened.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So when Carrie says that's what happened, there was a borrowing that didn't take place and finally did take place, which pumped, what was it, 6 million or something into free cash?
Five.
5 million?
Yeah.
So it was kind of unintentional or an oversight. But, again, we end up with $11 million of free cash, which is a little outside of our guidelines. So we'll be hearing more about this, I think. All right, thanks, Carrie.
You're welcome. Expenditures. So this is an overview of the 2026 budget. The operating budget for the town is $43.9 million. School assessments as of now is 11.7. The water budget is at 5.4 million, and the capital budget is at 2.9 million. We received a preliminary budget from the Monomoy Regional School, and we received some numbers from the Cape Cod Tech, but I'll go over that in their slide once I go through the budget. So these are highlights. This is a breakdown of the percentages of the departments for FY 2026 expenses. This information is more in detail in your budget books and also online. As you can see in this graph, the largest contributors to the budget include employee benefits at 11%, public works at 13%, debt service at 14%, public safety at 15%, and education at 19%.
Another question, Mr. Chair.
Joanne, please.
And the debt service, at 14%, is that the allowable amount compared to the whole budget, or? You're just saying that debt service is 14% of the,
Of our total budget.
Of the
So our
total.
budget, we have a $55 million budget. It's in this slide over here.
okay, the total budget.
The total budget. So our total operating budget for FY 2026, including the schools and the
Okay.
debt, is $55,656,614. And the
Okay.
debt service takes up 14% in that slide.
Just another quick one, Mr. Chair. So how does that, where do we set that? Is that, with that percentage of the budget, is that healthy or less than usual, more than average?
This is higher than it was last year, if
That's what I
if-
thought.
Yes. So we had debt service at 7.8 last year.
Yeah.
So this is higher because we took on more debt, and we have a lot of the Clean Water Trust borrowings are starting to come through now, so we have to start paying for those as well. So those hit our debt service.
And what is recommended by the state as far as the percentage of the total budget?
So what's recommended by the state is a total, your total equalized valuation, which is like, I can't remember what the amount is, it's new. It just came in for 2024, but it's over $200 billion or something like that. So it's 15% of that,
Okay.
yeah.
And
I can get you the exact number, but
I'm
yes,
sorry
we
to
are.
prolong it.
No, that's
No,
fine. We
that's
are, we
that's
are
why we're here.
within our borrowing limits.
I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
How much does the town, and for the people viewing, how much do we like to keep that percentage to? What do we like to keep that percentage of debt to our total budget? Do we have a
don't-
number?
I don't think there's a policy on that.
Yeah, I don't recall that there's a, in the formal financial policies of the town of Chatham, that there's a debt ratio or debt service ratio calculation.
Okay,
Historically, if memory serves, it's been typically the third largest part of our budget. Education, public safety, DPW, then public debt service can often sort of go up and down between 3 and 4. So you're right, it's definitely larger, but it's not, I think, materially out of place with kind of where it historically is ranked in the budgetary components.
okay, thank you. I'd just like to get the
No,
overall
that's
picture.
okay. I think last year we were at like 13%. I could be wrong, but I can go back and look and double check for you.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea for us to have a good, solid idea of what we're borrowing
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely important,
against,
Yeah.
against.
especially interest rate rising
Against-
environment.
Yes, against what our whole budget is, how it stacks up against other expenditures. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I don't think I went over this slide. I kind of skipped right to it. This provides a comparison of the 26 proposed budget to the 2025 budget. As you can see, the total proposed budget for 26 plus education is 55.6 million compared to the 51.6, which is a 7.66% increase. The FY 2026 operational factors. These are the major operational factors we are seeing, which I'll go over in some other slides, but they're employee benefits, insurance premiums, debt service, educational assessments, and contractual obligations, fixed costs, and budget drivers. So the FY 2026 operational increases, budget drivers. The proposed FY 2026 budget reflects a commitment to maintaining essential services and meeting our financial obligations. The primary drivers of this year's budget increases are salaries, employee benefits, debt service, and the rising costs of general liability insurance. Personal wages and benefits represent approximately 71% of the town's operating budget. Increases are required for personal services. So as you can see, our salaries increased 1.4 million over FY 2025. A contributing factor to all budget increases is labor cost pressure due to the limited regional labor market and compensating employees at a livable wage to stay. I could get way into the weeds on this, but the debt service has increased 9.74% over FY '25, and this was already approved borrowings that you have already approved at town meeting. And we still have ongoing projects. The insurance increase is 15 to 20%, and that's an increase of $144,000 over FY 2025.
And
The
Carrie,
increases in
I'm sorry,
general,
Carrie, is that for all insurances, or is that,
yeah, that's for all of our insurances.
okay.
Yeah.
And did we ever sort of clarify or resolve the fact that there were a couple of buildings that were not on the insured asset roster?
So those are on our insurance. There's just one that is lingering, but it's for a project we're not sure if it's finished yet, so.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then, yep. So in general, liability insurance costs reflect market-wide rate adjustments and is our responsibility to adequately protect the community from potential risks. This coverage ensures that the town is safeguarded against financial exposure from unforeseen events. And then our employee benefits have increased almost $600,000. Increased costs for Medicare are between 12 to 24%, and that's dependent on the plan that somebody has. So it's by each plan. It's kind of strange how Cape Cod Municipal Health Group did it this year. And then our projected health insurance increase for this year is 10% that we're holding. We haven't gotten a final number for that yet.
Carrie, do we have a budgetary proxy that you use for anticipated average fully loaded employee costs? So when you look at, we prospectively want to add 5 employees.
Yes.
It used to be, that was sort of an $85,000 to $90,000 figure.
Yes.
Is there kind of an updated figure that you use in filling that number in the spreadsheet
So it's roughly around $30,000.
for benefits?
Yep, for benefits.
And is there, again, sort of a proxy salary you use in trying to calculate the impact of 5 new employees? Or is it just too big of a spread?
It's just doing a spreadsheet, so we just take the amount plus adding on the highest potential plan for the employee that they could possibly take.
Right, so if the benefits are, $30,000, what would we peg as a salary for a prospective individual?
So if we pay $70,000, then, for the employee, then we're paying another.
No, I
Is that what
understand.
you're
I guess
asking?
I'm wondering, is there a salary figure you use? Is it 70,000? Is it 95,000? To multiply by 5 to say this is the salary impact of 5 new employees?
No, we just take whatever the salary is on the chart for each
Okay.
employee based on where they would be, say they're, because we have a compensation chart. So depending on where they are on the chart, we don't usually budget for the lowest step, we usually budget for like a step 3. So
Okay.
if somebody's coming in with experience, we want to be able to give them money, more money. And then we just take the highest plan and budget for that, for a budget.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
helpful, thank you.
You're welcome.
Andy?
I guess I'll sort of forecast a good question. I think that as, a lot of what the discussion we've had in the last few years over employee salaries and benefits and so forth was, one, the difficulty in finding employees to the ability of retaining employees. And, so a lot of the changes in the salaries and benefits, at least in my mind, have been justified in that regard. So then it comes down to, so how's it working? Is it have we increased employee retention? Have we made it easier to find qualified employees for open positions? What kind of experience, are our department heads finding as they try to get new employees to fill open positions? And, I mean, I'm sort of forecasting my question. Right? I don't expect an answer right now.
Quite explicitly.
but it's going to come up.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure it will.
Any,
yeah.
any initial thoughts on that, Carrie? Andy raises very good points.
It's been, I can't really answer to that because I'm not the person that does all the hiring and all that stuff. I don't see all that. But I feel like the town has been doing a great job at hiring people and retaining people. And at the moment, I know that the town had quite a few retirements, a couple of years ago. So, and it's difficult because Chatham is way down here, I mean, it's further down Cape. And it's more difficult because it's more expensive to live down here as well. So you're trying to find people that either live here or can commute in. And you got to be able to pay them a livable wage, so. And some of them might even think about moving down here if they find the job, so.
So Andy, maybe we hang on to that for when Megan comes in, but excellent questions.
Yeah, it's a very good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't answer everything, so.
Understood, thank you.
You're welcome. So this is, you saw this at the budget summit. It's the same scale. It's our general fund existing debt service as of 6/30/2024. And this is just for approved projects, a debt for projects that have been approved, and we're still working on other projects. So this could change again at the end of this fiscal year. Operating budget proposed
Andy, I'm sorry.
staffing by departments.
I'm sorry, Carrie.
Yes.
Andy, please.
Yeah, Carrie, briefly, typically the debt that we issue is what, 20-year, 30-year,
Yeah, usually 20-year. Yep.
20-year?
Yeah.
All right, that's how so reading this chart, we should look at to say 2046, right? And say, gee, debt that we just issued, right?
Well, we
Is
have.
maturing somewhere out there.
Yes, that is correct. But we have clean water trust funds that we've borrowed for, but haven't taken on yet. So some of them won't come on until 2027.
Right, this does not reflect authorized but unissued.
No, it doesn't. This is just the debt that we have that we're paying for.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it does not show our unissued debt.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Tracy, please.
I believe we've discussed before that it would be helpful to see a chart of approved
And
total.
unapproved?
Existing debt plus approved debt, even though it's unissued.
It's a huge spreadsheet, but is it possible to screenshot that, do you think?
I might be able to get it into a graph.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just for the sake of clarity, when the town is paying its debt service, it's paying both principal and interest?
This is principal and interest, yes.
Very good.
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The following departments have put forward requests for additional staff for FY 2026 to address workload and service capacity, and the following are being recommended for 2026. Full-time local inspector for the Community Development Department, a full-time boat operator, marine mechanic for the harbor master, one full-time police officer, for the police department, and 2 full-time parks and grounds laborers under the public works. These 5 positions will have an impact of $258,000 to our operating budget, not including benefits for the 5 full-time, which could be at our greatest potential, $154,000, for a total of $412,000 for FY 2026. Does anybody have any questions on those?
So Carrie, I guess the question I would have, and I don't know if it has to happen today or if we do it in the departmental budgets. I do know that our harbor master is here, so maybe we can take advantage of Jason's presence. But I think it would be helpful to the committee and to the taxpayer to understand the rationale behind these proposed staffing additions.
Yes.
What do we hope to accomplish? What's not working? What should work with incremental staffing? So again, I don't know if we want to do it now. I'm happy to do it during the,
I think most of them are planning on talking during their budget presentations. Jason is here today because he will not be here during the presentation for natural resources. So if you'd like to listen to hear about the boat operator mechanic.
yeah, Jason, if we could
He's happy to talk about
tap
it.
into you for a couple minutes, that'd be terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello again. Sorry, I got to get my eyeglasses out here. How's everyone today? First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I'd made a previous travel arrangement before the dates for the department, so I really wanted to be there and don't want to take any of Carrie's time up. But this position here is something I feel pretty strongly about, and appreciate the opportunity to kind of go over a few things. The numbers and so forth, Greg will go over whenever he presents to you all. For me, what I was hoping to be able to do, I guess, is just give you, like you said, a little bit of background. Everyone remembers COVID, pretty dark times for us. And we started experiencing a lot of difficulties in trying to get parts for the boats, to be able to repair. Facilities started not coming out to work on the boats. We started having to go to them, leave our boats there, which, as you all know, there are ambulances on the water. Around that time, we also happened to hire an assistant that worked a day and a half a week that was a marine mechanic. And very quickly, we started realizing the advantages of having someone with that skill set on staff. Although it was only like a day or so a week, the increase in readiness from our boats increased. The on-hand knowledge of being able to call someone when you had an issue went through the roof. I can't tell you how many cases that I've been on to where I've had an incident. One in particular was responding to a stroke victim off of Chatham. Coast Guard couldn't get out the bar, so we went out along with one of our firefighters. And the guy was stable when we got him, and on the way in, and started experiencing an issue on one of the engines on the safe boat. And although stable, not quite comfortable, so I was able to call, talk to our marine mechanic, seasonal employee that we happened to be on that day, gave me some really good advice of how hard I could push the engine, what procedures to take if it stalled again, and really kind of expedited that transport of a patient. And it was that, in addition to a number of others, that really started kind of laying the groundwork. Quick math, in about 5 years, we've saved roughly $30,000 in oil changes alone. Which is pretty amazing when you consider that's literally just oil changes. And that's, again, with someone who works for us a couple months out of the year, a day or so. So quickly realizing the value and the cross training value of having someone like that, in particular with the Mitchell River Bridge. The components of that bridge, a lot of those kind of carry over and cross-reference to this type of background. We have a very difficult time getting people to work on the bridge. There's not a, Mitchell River Bridge maintenance contract in the yellow pages that we can call up. It really is kind of hit and miss trying to get people to take a look at it. The maintenance contracts that we have potentially sourced run in excess of $100,000 a year. So this position, in theory, would be able to handle the majority of the maintenance on the bridge, minus the complex electrical issues that's associated with that as well. So very brief kind of overview. As always, we need additional boat operators and highly trained boat operators. Just as doing the annual report today, we had an increase in about 100 marine incidents this year over last year. Some of that's probably just better accounting of what we're doing on a daily basis, but in real time, there's a significant increase that's been kind of going on for a while now. You all know the issues with the Coast Guard, whether they'll continue to be here or not. The Commandant just got fired 2 days ago. So the first head of a military branch to be relieved, I think, since 1915. So, you know, there's a lot going on, to say the least. And in our community, having the resources and people trained and available, I think, is of paramount importance, certainly to me. I hope that's of importance to the voting public. And that's generally where this position came from. And be happy to answer any other questions if you have them.
That's very helpful, Jason. Thank you. Questions for Jason? John, please.
Thanks, Jason. How did you arrive at that number, and is that enough?
You want to answer that?
So on a few of these, there's offsets to them, so that's not the actual salary. The salary is like more like, I don't know, we'll say 70,000, but we were able to pull money from expense lines that won't be used anymore for we'll say, the Mitchell River Bridge under the Capitol. We were able to save money under there. We were able to save some money under other expense lines that we would normally budget for, but we were able to reduce to be able to pay for this position. So that's why it shows that it's only 44,000 because of the difference between the two.
Okay, that makes me more comfortable.
Yeah,
'cause I know
I'll get you the
marine
exact
mechanics-
numbers when we go through each department, and I'll show you those exact numbers, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned an increase in 100 incidents on the water or issues that needed attention from your office? Are they in, could you categorize them? Like, a lot of them were
we do in our-
novice boaters or?
In our annual report, we have, and in our monthly reports, we have breakdowns of categories of incidents. Miscellaneous captures a lot, and that's because there's so many small things. If we listed every single category out, it'd be 30 deep. But anything ranging from capsized boats, people in the water, medical responses, pollution, you name it, we get it. So, you know, one of the things, like I said, our staff's done a better job of documenting, but certainly there's been an increase. And sometimes there are severe issues, sometimes they're not. There is no way to gauge what a year's gonna be. We've had some very slow years that had some really significant incidents happen. But, you know, knock on wood, we haven't had anything terribly major in a while. And that's in large part due to, I feel, our staff being out and providing a presence on the water, providing boating education to the public, trying to mark the areas appropriately. But don't get us wrong, we had 2 people get ejected out of a boat in the North Inlet last year in surf. We had a boat capsize in the South Inlet last year in the surf. Both of those turned out well. But very easily couldn't. So the dynamic conditions, those types of incidents that come up is really the reason that it makes me feel a whole lot better to increase our training, our expertise, and obviously another full-time staff member that we could work with on a full-time basis would be phenomenal. In addition to the increase in off-season cases that we have as well. Duck hunting seasons, like, gives me nightmares. We've had a lot of issues, you know, knock on wood this year, nothing, but that increase in off-season water activity is certainly something that we can't turn a blind eye to either. So we still remain vigilant even in February. Thank you.
Other questions for Jason? The, just sort of point to note that the annual report that Jason's referring to is I'm assuming is the report that's gonna go in, get embedded into the Town of Chatham annual report, which will be available in Town Hall sometime in the next couple of months, which summarizes the activities of all the various groups, including the Finance Committee, which reminds me I need to write that. Carrie, is there any thought to subsidizing this position in part from the WOOF revenue? There seems to be a corollary between revenue and expense.
We could look into that. I never thought about it, but we could look into that.
Yeah, it seemed to be kind of a natural. And Jason, sorry to drag you back up again, but I'm curious about how, given the characteristics that Carrie stipulated about being out on the elbow and commuting and the like, how likely do you think it is that we can find an individual that will be appropriate for this position?
Sure, Mr. Chair. 2 things. One, a lot of our money comes from the Waterway Improvement Fund for our salaries and so forth. The Waterways User Fund, I don't believe would fall under that category when it was created. I think there's specific things that it was used for.
Correct.
I don't feel
That is
salaries
correct.
was one of those. However, as far as the possibilities of getting someone out here, not to tag on too much earlier what they said about hiring and retaining employees, but in my opinion, the town's done a very good job over the past several years. From what I understand, the proposed pay is competitive with what marine mechanics are in the area. I'd also tell you that it's still not enough probably out here. I mean, it's just the reality. The housing market's crazy and so forth. But I have high hopes that we'll get a robust candidate pool for that and hopefully be able to close the deal. It seems like at least us, we've had pretty good luck with applicants whenever we've had openings within our division.
All right, terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I guess that answers the question about the WUF. So each of the departments, when they come through, they'll be talking about their positions, so we'll go in more in detail. The preliminary Monomoy Regional School District voted their budget by the school committee on January 9th, 2025 at $49.6 million, amounting to Chatham's statutory preliminary assessment at $11.1 million, which is a 7.97% increase from 2025. This includes capital and the Chatham Elementary School assessment of $2.26 million. I was estimating a 5% increase for the Cape Cod Tech School based on prior years, and I hadn't received any information until just a couple days ago. I got an email saying that they were increasing 7% on their assessment. So based on that information that I received, the assessment was going to be around $429,704. And the debt that they have is $173,197 for a total of $602,901. So I think my amount was pretty close. I'm going to leave it at the 604 until I get their final numbers and when I see them in February.
And Carrie, do we have a sense of how much of that increase is due to cost increases versus student increases?
I don't. I literally got a one-liner. I've been emailing them and
Okay, thank you.
that's all I got. So I don't know until we hear from them. The schools are tentatively scheduled for February 11th to present to the select board. I can't remember when they're presenting to you. I feel like it's like the 13th. It's on the schedule. 13th, okay. There have been no proposed changes to the regional agreement. As noted previously, the Monomoy Regional School budget has increased overall by 6.7%, and Chatham's assessment has increased 7.97 from FY 2025. Their final vote is in March of 2025.
And Carrie, do we think there's any traction that might develop with the conversation in Harwich about, again, trying to shift the formula to throw more of these costs onto Chatham? One never knows, do one?
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think there's any, if I'm speaking for the town of Chatham, we wouldn't want to change the agreement.
Good.
I'm just speaking on behalf of Chatham.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry, hold on, Tommy Doan, please.
Thank you, Stephen. Do you have any recall what they're asking for, the difference? Howard?
I don't recall the specifics other than they want us to pay more. Anybody else? Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been a persistent issue. I think that, there's
It has been.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we had a joint meeting with the Harwich Finance Committee, 6, 7 years ago, and they were indicating political pressures then on the school budget. So, it may not come as a surprise, but at some point.
So I put this graph together. This is the Monomoy Regional School District's assessments over the past 5 years. So in FY 2022, the assessment was $8.5 million. And now in FY 2026, it's $11.1 million. So you can see that it's, yeah. Do you want to do the math? Okay.
Andy, please.
Although, where in there did we pick up the cost of the elementary school? completely?
Oh, God, that's a good question.
Okay, because I mean, clearly that would make a difference as to how you appreciate this graph.
Right. But I feel it's definitely in there, and I want to say it was somewhere around 22, 23.
And prior to that, we of course paid a share of the Chatham Elementary School piece.
Yes.
But, you know,
Yes,
not a very large share, and now we've picked up
the,
all of it.
all of it, yeah,
Right, so that would make a big
yeah.
number.
And I don't know if it's in the,
Well, originally that was what, $700,000-800,000 for the first year and popping
Correct.
up to close to $1 million for the second year. And
Correct. And
Yeah.
we're now, what, two,
probably 2 or 3,
Two-
2 or
2.2.
3 years in.
okay.
So 24 to 26 is a 15+% increase.
Yeah.
Which, Andy, I think you raised a good point. But
Anyway.
I'll get
thank
you that, I'll write it down. When was the assessment? I feel like it was somewhere around,
Yes, it's kind of an asterisk on the graph. I'm trying to figure out what the actual percentage increase was, considering.
you're welcome. It might also be listed in that book under the schools, under the transmittal letter. It might be in there when we took it on too. This graph goes over the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School, and I know this is a little, it's based on the enrollment, so it goes up and down, so. But, so in FY '22, it was 444,000, and now we're up at 604. And we had a huge increase between '24 and '25 with the amount of students, so it went from 13 students to 22 students, so. Yeah. The water budget. The water department operating budget is funded by revenue generated from water receipts, which continues to be monitored as conservation measures has reduced revenues in '24 versus '23, and through the first half of the fiscal year. There has been an increase in the water budget due to increased costs for plant maintenance, chemicals, labor, and the debts has increased from FY 2025 to 2026, 32.52%. Yeah, that's all, I know.
I'm sorry, debt services improved, has increased by 32%?
Yeah, so service has increased 32% from FY '25 to '26.
Whoa.
Yeah. At this time, we are internally working to propose an updated rate structure for the water department. The proposed water budget for FY '26 is increasing in overall by 15.42%. The indirect costs include departmental services such as accounting, treasurer's office, health insurance for the full-time employees, Medicare costs paid by the general fund, and the portion the town pays for employees' pension for Barnstable County.
Andy, please.
Carrie, remind me, when did we put out that contract, operating contract for bid, and the new one, we have a new operator
So we
now,
do
right?
have a new operating, yep. So we used to use Weston and Sampson, and FY '25, this current fiscal year, is our first year with Veolia. I think that's how you pronounce it.
All right, so this,
This includes the new contract, yes.
okay, all right. How long is that contract?
I believe it's for 3 years,
Okay, all right.
but it might be 5, I don't know, I'll have to look.
Any performance guarantees in there?
Huh?
Are there any performance guarantees in the contract?
I don't think so.
Okay, right,
I'd have to look at it.
just curious. Maybe something we want to explore.
I know that Rob could probably answer more of those questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah, better
Understand.
than I can, but
Okay, thank you.
I'll look into how long it is and performance.
And Rob will be here next week.
He will be, yep. He'll be here on Thursday. Yep. Okay, I'm moving on. Again, this is the same graph as the general fund. This is the water fund existing debt service. As of 6/30/2024, we still have approved projects with unauthorized debt. I will try to see if I can get something put together for you guys, so you can see general fund and water as well. Other capital and community priority items. The 2026 capital plan for items that cost between $10,000 and $250,000. So as I showed you earlier on the digital budget book, if you saw the one-year plan, you saw an amount of 46 million. That is all of the requests that were put in, even the capital items. So some of the capital items are quite large, and I'm just going to go over. One of them is 32 million for the, that's for the sewer, to continue on with the sewer. So that's why the requests are so high. So for the items that cost between 10 and 250, we are recommending 2.9 million, using free cash in the amount of 2.7, and this is 6.7% of the operating budget net of debt, which is within our financial plan operating. Yep, I just went back a slide, sorry. I clicked the wrong thing. So this chart shows the summary of the 46 million capital requests and the comparison of 2025 actual compared to 2026 for the, just the amounts for 10,000 and 250, just to be clear. So we had a capital plan last year of 2.4 million, and this year it's 2.9.
And Carrie, what generally is in the equipment line items? That include, for example, an ambulance? Or what is that?
I think the ambulance is under public safety. Equipment would be like more like the stuff that Public Works has been submitting, a lot of different types of equipment.
Yellow metal?
Yeah, backhoes and that kind of things.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll find out.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. For this capital plan, we'll be using 2.7 of free cash, 70,000 from the Waterways Improvement Fund, 25,000 from the cemetery sale of lots, and 130,000 from the PEG Access Fund, that amount to 2.9. Community preservation articles. The community preservation voted on their applications that they received as of November 1st, 2024. They voted on January 6th, 2025. This slide provides a list of all the approved projects and the amounts, including the administrative budget and the 10% reserve fund. The total amount is 2.35 for all of their articles, projects. Yes.
Joanne, please.
Yes, Carrie, what kind of a balance do we have in that fund? The Community Preservation Fund? We're spending 2.3 million.
So
what
I would have to go back and look and see what the balance is of the community service, but most of these are going to be using estimated revenues.
say that again?
Most of these projects use estimated revenues, so we estimate what they're going to be receiving for the current fiscal year, and that's what they base their projects on, is an
Okay.
estimate of estimated revenues.
Okay,
Yeah. The open space, I can tell you, has a large amount of money in it sitting there, so a lot of all of those projects will be funded by the open space reserve. But for the housing and historic projects, those will be using estimated revenues.
Carrie, I'm sorry, so when you say all those projects, you mean those three open space projects that are listed?
Yes,
Okay.
the three open space, so the
okay,
field
just wanted to be clear.
studies, Town of Chatham 2025 open space, I spelled that wrong, I gotta fix that. Little Pond Pier. Yep,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Other potential capital items. So these are all capital articles that are pending review and we'll be going over as we go through the season. These articles will be brought before, the Select Board and the Finance Committee for discussion and recommendation through the month of February. The transfer station project in the amount of $3.4 million. This is to be split with free cash and the tax levy in the amount of $400,000. The Center for Active Living renovations is to use free cash in the amount of $5 million. Sorry, the sewer capital, this is to use the wastewater capital stabilization fund in the amount of $1 million. Dredging in the amount of $400,000 with use of the tax levy. Child care voucher program in the amount of $175,000 with use of the tax levy. Other post-employment benefits, that's the OPEB, to use overlay surplus. Chatham Municipal Airport capital items to support their capital improvement plan in the amount of $59,000 to use the tax levy. A new ambulance in the amount of $410,000 to use the tax levy. And then, like I just mentioned before, there's a debt exclusion ballot question for the continuation of the sewer construction expansion in the amount of $32 million.
Questions for Carrie?
No?
Andy,
Okay.
please.
I was waiting for a question.
Yeah, okay. I'll do the same thing. I'll telegraph another question, which is
Okay.
going to be, oh, boy.
Having Kreskin
How
on the
much
board.
more money for the sewer, and how long is it going to take, and when are the projects being finished, and how many customers do we have signed up? I mean, it's going to be, that's a lot. And I understand, it's going to take a long time, but I sure look forward to hearing a status update for all of those things.
Yeah.
So is that going to be Greg, you reckon, or is that Rob?
So
Or both, or-
Rob will be doing the sewer one.
Okay.
Transfer station is Rob. Center for Active Living renovations is Terry and Leah, I
Yep.
believe. Then we have the sewer capital, which is, we're going to pay that from the wastewater capital stabilization. That's Rob. Dredging is Greg.
Ted or Greg?
Yep, Ted or Greg.
So if we could just, I mean, we don't need to go who's going to be speaking to all these, but
Okay.
if we could just make sure that whoever's going to be fielding the balls on sewer construction is advised as to Andy's, kind of the thrust of Andy's questions, which I think the entire committee probably shares.
Do you think you can give me a list of the questions after the meeting so I can provide them to Rob?
I can try.
Okay.
It may not be complete.
Okay, that's okay. I just want to give him something that he has some type of,
Okay, sure, of course.
okay, so we can provide it for you. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
The balance of free cash, if all the articles are approved, there will be a balance of $469,188. This is just based on the FY 2026 capital plan. So we have beginning free cash at 11.1 million. Then we have the 2026 capital improvement plan using 2.7. The Center for Active Living renovations using 5 million. Transfer station capital requests using 3 million. So that gives us an ending balance of $469,188.
Easy come, easy go. Any comments or questions for Carrie? Barbara,
Barbara.
please.
Well, just a comment, I guess. The Center for Active Living and the transfer station don't want to toss this out in front of the voters again. So they figured.
Evidently.
Okay.
All right, well, sorry, go ahead.
I did have one quick question.
Okay.
When the different departments submit their budgets and put the prices in for the new employees that they're requesting, the benefits are not included in that, but
No.
when you estimated them at 150, if we're figuring what the cost to the department, well, it doesn't go to the department, I guess, but
Comes out
we've
of
been
health
using like 15,000, so should that be 30,000, closer to 30,000 per person now?
Yeah. So we try to budget for the highest plan, which would be the most expensive plan that we have, which is, I believe it's the Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO, and a family plan. So somebody could come in and take the lowest plan, but we have to try to budget for the highest plan, because what if they come in and they take that plan? So,
Okay,
yeah.
thanks.
Carrie, I think I'm going to do the Andy Young Kreskin. I think there's some questions in the future that you'll hear from us about. I got to say, I look at this chart and I almost lose my mind with and I'm repeating myself, of course, but the egregious overages of the treatment of free cash by the team at 549, for whom I have the greatest of respect. But there's something in the water that almost perennially leads to a significant multiple of the town's financial guidelines. And I think I probably speak for everybody, if not the wildly overwhelming majority of this committee, that we think as the finance committee of the town of Chatham that it needs to stop. This thing has to get back into policy range. I know that rating agencies love it. Taxpayers probably a little less enthusiastic.
Right.
So more to come from us, but I look at that number and just like, again? So,
I know, and I hear you, and I'm trying to,
yeah,
so.
all right, well, thank you.
You're welcome. A lot of it stems from, when we budget for a position to be there and be filled. And last year, there was a couple positions that didn't go and get filled. So those are turnbacks. So we budget for these things in anticipation that we're going to get them, but
Yeah,
That's
but if
just
the
a
average-
minute-
if the
I'm
average-
just saying
come on,
that's a
If the
minute
average
part,
position's
but-
$100,000, that's 100 people.
right, but you just don't forget that the $5 million
Yeah.
should have been from the prior fiscal
Understood.
year. Yeah. So
Understood.
that would have been more like 6, and it would have been an average it would have been normal to you, what you normally see.
Closer to normal.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, well, more to come from us.
So the next slide, this is the end of my presentation, the 2026 budget and 2025 annual town meeting calendar. So some important dates to remember. The Finance Committee preliminary recommendation is due to the Select Board on February 18th. The Select Board approved 2026 budgets transmitted to the Finance Committee on February 2025. I'm sorry, the 25th. The Finance Committee warrant article recommendations are due March 11th. The annual town meeting warrant closes on March 18th. And the annual town meeting is on May 10th. The elections, May 15th. And that's it.
Questions or observations for Carrie? Joanne?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Tell me again, what do we expect to have to be passed by town meeting from the budget? Is there anything this year? Like, it has to be voted on at town meeting, like,
Go back to your last slide with the 32 million and all the ambulance and the standalone, what will be standalone warrant articles?
So let's
Back.
see, town meeting closes.
No, go back to your schedule with the big CapEx, I think is what Joanne's asking. Is that right?
No, I think it's this
In other
one.
words.
She's talking about this one, isn't it?
anything- Is there anything that we vote on at town meeting that has to be affirmed at
Yes,
the
the
town election?
recommendations, they have to be done by
election.
March 11th.
So Joanne's asking what items that may be on the warrant have to then be on the town election.
If
So
they're accepted on the warrant.
presumably the $32 million.
Oh, sorry, yes, sorry, I misunderstood you. Yes, the 32 million, that would be the one that would go on the town election, because that's the only ballot question that we have.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the convenience of paying for 2 significant town projects with free cash, as Barbara pointed out.
Right.
Tommy, yeah.
Thank you for your presentation, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Is there any way we can get a hard copy of what you showed today?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. I think that would help.
Okay. I
would
can
help
print
me.
it. Okay,
Okay,
I can print it for you.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. Further comments or questions? All right, Carrie, terrific job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes,
Very
thank you
comprehensive,
so
very
much.
You're
very
welcome.
thoughtful.
You're
Well
welcome.
done.
Thank you.
There are a couple of minutes that Ann has sent to me. I'm going out of order, but what the heck. and I'll take a look at those. I do want to ask Eric Whiteley, who's joined us, to see if, Eric, you've got any comments or questions you'd like to raise?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm doing fine for the moment. Thank you.
Okay, terrific, thank you. Carrie has included the proposed schedule for the next couple of weeks. I've got to go back in the barrel, as I think you guys know, next Monday for close to 3 weeks. My schedule is such that I will be trying to be online on Tuesdays, and I'm done ideally around 10 or 10:30 or so on Thursdays. So I'll try to drive back down from Boston and be here in person, ideally, for Thursday afternoons. Depending on how I feel, I will try to be here. And that's kind of the rumpus. We're going to have to focus on, and we can talk more about this on Thursday, because but we got, as ever, we need to think about our report to the select board. So nothing to do on that just yet, but as we, begin the process, think about highlights and red flags or white flags or green flags that we want to convey. And I guess that's it. Any comments or questions from the committee? John, please.
Thank you. I just want to note for the committee, I'm going to miss next week. I have a council meeting that lasts the entire week, so I won't be here.
Okay, thank you. Andy?
And since I guess I've been deputized to stand in Stephen's stead for some of these, it would help me a lot if you would just email me the dates when you don't think you can make it.
Yep.
All right, and I'll make a record of them. So I'm not.
Well, ideally, I'll be here for all the meetings. I'll be remote on Tuesdays,
Right, but I'm thinking about.
unless I'm just get whacked.
I'm thinking about everybody else, right?
Oh, these guys. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
okay, that'd be terrific, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, anything further? John?
I don't know if you want me to work with Andy to transmit questions about sewering.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I just,
As long as it's not a quorum, as long as it's not a quorum,
yeah.
because then we would have to post the meeting, et cetera, et cetera. If two of you guys want to put your heads together and think about questions that the committee want to propose, I would go so far as to say if any individual has a question they want to put forth, just email to Andy. Don't expect a response, don't deliberate, don't,
Yeah. Yeah, I did, just generally, we've been doing this in town for a long time, and I'm just curious if there's any monitoring that goes on in the adjacent waterways for water quality.
yeah.
And I'd also would like to get a check-in, a reference point. Where are we in the process in terms of,
100%.
okay.
Okay, anything else? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Second. Thank you, Tommy. John,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Tommy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Joanne.
Yes.
I don't know if Eric's still with us. We may have shut him.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
all right.
Yes.
Then the chair's in favor. Eric, thanks for taking the time to join us, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday, remotely. All right, thank you all. Carrie, thank you.